Better be.
All right. I think we're live. I think we're good. So, hey guys, welcome to Ace in the Hole Live. The whole idea is law of attraction mixed with poker. So we talk about health, wealth, and relationships. This is something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know Dave has a big passion for this stuff as well. So let me introduce myself. I am Nate Drew. I am the founder and owner of the Salt Lake Pops Orchestra. I write music for film. I produce television shows like Ace in the Hole. I guess I have to point that way right there, Ace in the Hole. And I just do a lot of really fun, ridiculous stuff. I own a few businesses. And this is my good friend Dave Kent, who is actually on this show. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks,
By the way, he is one of my favorite people on the planet.
Wow.
Someday I aspire to look as good as he does on camera. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Wow. I'm blushing here already. Thank you for the accolades, man.
Yeah.
And yes, you're one of my favorite people on the planet, Nate.
Thanks.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Nate. And
Uh-huh.
this is really cool. This is a great idea, and this is really, really cool, and it's live. So, good or the bad, they're going to get the authentic side of us.
It's gonna be fun, one way or another, right?
Yeah, so quick introduction of myself so we can get into this. So I have been in the mortgage business now almost 20 years, and I absolutely love the entrepreneurial space. As a loan officer, we had a bunch of financial changes where we have to be W-2'd by law, so I have a boss on my day job. But I identify as an entrepreneur. I identify as a creator. I think I would go crazy if I didn't have that in my life. So I love business. I love creativity, and I love networking, and I love meeting people, and I love finding synergy and like-mindedness, and that's why we became friends.
Yeah.
Through a group.
Yeah.
And it was like we became friends really, really quick.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We're very much on the same level in a lot of ways. So I want to go through really quickly what we're going to cover today. We're going to go over today is about the spark. So it's about the emotion. It's about the inspiration. That thing that's going to change your life. That one moment. That eureka moment that I guess Dave Austin would call it the shower moment, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go over the law of attraction idea behind it. We're going to go over kind of the business stuff, how you start a business, what's the inception of a business. We're going to go over relationships, how to create a spark in your relationships. Let's see, we're going to go through my spark that I had to slim myself down. I got to a point where I was 318 pounds. I'm training for the Olympics, so I was, I'm like, I need to be big, right? And I was like, you know what, though? I saw myself in the picture. I was like, no, I want to look good and go to the Olympics. So anyway.
And you want to live a long time.
And I want to live a long time. I want to be healthy, all that stuff. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to go over a process that I use and a lot of people use that will absolutely change your life and help you with that spark. And I'm really hoping that I can give you something that's going to really inspire you tonight. So, first thing, tell me what you think about the power of emotion.
The key word is power, because that's what it is. Emotions are power. If negative emotions versus positive emotions, they can have duality in huge extremes that can negatively affect your life, hold you back, or empower you and create a life beyond your imagination, where it's like, this is even more than I had dreamed. Right. So emotions matter, and they matter a lot.
Okay. So do you personally, what do you do to get yourself in the right place emotionally? So let's say you have like a meeting, like a sales meeting where you're going to sell someone. Like, how do you get yourself to the right place emotionally?
So this hits near and dear to me because my mindset, I've been in sales since I was 18 years old.
Yeah, right.
So I've always been a business to a salesman to consumer to customer transaction.
Right.
And so my mindset, my positivity, my belief in abundance, I always found correlated. And even almost to my wife's annoyance, because what I just turned 40, and what I did not know and what I didn't figure out, and it took a long time to figure out, is balance. I was so protective of my mindset that there were times where I wasn't the best partner, where my wife was like, hey, I can be real with David. And because she calls me David, everyone in the world calls me Dave, but my wife calls me David. She's like, I can talk to him about like real life challenges that are happening in our household or finances or with the kids, because I have to protect his mindset, because his mindset directly correlates to how he does at work. And there were years where, to her credit, and I apologize and will continue to apologize, it was hard because I was overly protective of that. But that's the thing, is I had scarcity to protect my mindset. And so it ended up creating a bit of a paradox.
Okay.
That it took me a while to figure out.
Huh. That's really, really interesting. I have recently come to this idea that it doesn't matter what the action is. If I'm coming at it from a scarcity emotional place, it's the wrong action. So for instance, I kind of wanted to, so my wife's going on a trip. I wanted to like keep track of her and make sure things are going well. And I was like, hey, you should check in with me, and like we should do these things. And I was like, wait a second, hold on a second. I'm only having you do this because I'm afraid. And I'm not sure why I'm afraid necessarily, but because I'm coming at this from the wrong emotional place, let's not do this. Let's find a different solution. We can check in with each other.
That's good awareness.
In different ways. So I actually I created an app. So I had a friend who asked me. He wanted me to coach him, and he asked me, what do you do? Like, you went from being in a single wide trailer with your wife and 2 kids to being in a $2 million house within 5 years. Like, I don't know how you did that. Like, what do you do? What do you attribute that to? And I said, well, the first thing I did when I decided to change my life, and just a little bit of the backstory, I was a composer. I wrote music for film. I was working sun up to sundown every single day, writing music, and it was something that I loved to do until the point where I was working so hard, and I was trying to figure out some way of making money, and we had nothing. We just had nothing, and I won all these international awards, and I got so mad at life at one point, and I said, what do rich people do? Like, what do they do? And I found something that said that they wake up at 5 a.m. So I was like, fine, I'm getting up at 5 a.m., damn it. Like, every day I'm getting up at 5 a.m. So I would get up at 5 a.m. And I was like, what do I do now? and I read something about the 5 a.m. club, and I read something about meditation. So I would take my headphones, and I'd walk around the trailer court doing these active meditations, and I'd breathe and do these different things. And that started to really change my life and how I started to view things, and it really snowballed into a lot of other things. But the idea was that I started to control what was in here instead of what was out there. And because of this conversation we had, I decided to create an app. And I'm in a kind of the testing stage. It's in a Trello board is what it is. And so I'm having people test it out. If anyone out there wants to test it out, let me know. I'll get it to you. All you do is you choose whatever emotion you're in right now, and it gives you a whole list of processes that you can choose from to get your emotion to the next step. You're not going to go from depression to pure happiness. That's just not going to happen. So the point is
at least not with any
emotion.
legal substances.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Everything's incremental at some level. So the whole idea is to incrementally move up the emotional scale, and these are all processes that I've tried that have helped me out, some at different levels, and we're going to do one of these processes a little bit later. And to me, the power of emotion simply is the idea, if you were in a car, I would say if we were a car, if we were metaphorically a car, emotions would be the gas in the car. It would be the thing that propelled us forward to actually do the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
And so getting the right emotions, if I am in a negative space, invariably, every single time I make an action in a negative space, it ends up negatively. It just does. And it happens over and over.
And if it doesn't directly happen, then what happens is you were lucky. And you dodged a bullet.
But that's not even true, because eventually it turns to the negative.
Right. Eventually it'll get there.
Yeah, right. It like I have kept very close track, and 100% of the time, like I don't know if you've ever been working on a computer and you get so pissed off. You get so frustrated that this computer is not doing exactly the thing you want it to do, and you're trying to fix it. This is
that
kind
doesn't
of
play to my skill set, but
okay.
I'm following.
It's kind of in my wheelhouse. I have to deal with computers a lot. And you get to a point where you're just so frustrated, and you're trying everything, and you're doing all this software stuff, and no, it's not software, maybe it's hardware, so you do the hardware stuff. And I remember one time I stayed up for 3 days straight because I was in the middle of scoring a movie. 3 days straight, so frustrated, trying to get this thing done. I was like, fine. If it doesn't work out, I'm screwed. The movie's not going to happen, whatever. I'm going to go sleep. I slept. I woke up and I had an idea. I should try this. Immediately it was fixed. Because I was in a better emotional state. Like, it's just,
The physical, quick manifestation testimonial that I have that relates different skill set is in my 20s when, completely, man, that feels like a lifetime ago. But, struggling, tight financially. If the car breaks down, I'm taking it down to the local AutoZone or Checker, getting the free diagnostic, trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with my car, why is it making these noises, why is that check engine light on, and then I'm going on Google trying to figure out how to fix my car.
Right.
So the best analogy is you're under there's been cases where I've been under my car and I don't know what I don't know. I know enough that I kind of know generally, like, hey, one, I can't afford to take this to a mechanic. It's going to cost a fortune. I need my car. And I'm underneath it, and there's just picture this. I've got a wrench, and it's on this bolt or this nut that just is locked, it's frozen. I can't get it to move. It's literally a linchpin that's keeping me from being successful, and it won't budge. I don't have the tools. It won't move. And the more I get frustrated, the more the negative emotions, the tougher it is. There's been cases, and I now it's almost like my operating procedure is when you get to that moment in anything in life, stop, step away, take a breath, regain yourself, get grounded, and change your emotion. And I'm telling you, almost like there was newfound, either the bolt, it was a war of attrition, either the bolt gave up or somehow I tapped into physical strength that I didn't know was in there. I'll get right back under, and I'm telling you, the bolt moves.
Yes.
And I've had that like real life testimonial more than once, but then in other things in my life on much bigger, grander scales, and even more simpler things, where you come from emotionally on any challenge, the rule is you cannot expect to have a solution to a problem. So whatever level of energy or however challenging that problem is, you cannot resolve it and overcome it unless you come at it with a higher level of energy, at least equal, but better, greater than the challenge.
Well, in fact, there's a quote by Einstein that talks about you cannot solve a problem at the same vibration you cannot find a solution at the same vibration as the problem. The problem and the solution are completely different vibrations if we're talking about physics.
Yes.
And so you have to find some sort of distance between the two.
Yeah.
How do I move from one to the other?
Yeah.
And in fact, this is something I just remembered. So I don't know if you know this. Emily and I tried for 7 years to have a child. A long time.
Wow.
And we went to...
Was this your first child?
Yeah.
Okay.
To have our first child.
That would be hard, especially when you're first. You're like, is this in the cards for us? Is this going to happen?
Yeah, right. And we went from clinic to clinic. We tried all kinds of things, different shots and different medicines. And we went through a clinical trial, and we went through all like crazy stuff.
Wow.
We were focused on having a child 24/7, and at the end of the 7 years, we said, "Screw it, we're done. We're done. Like, let's just go on a little vacation. Let's forget we ever even thought about this. Maybe we'll adopt, maybe we won't. I don't know. But let's just go on vacation." And guess what
I know
happened?
where the story's going.
Immediately, we conceived.
Once the pressure's off.
Yeah, right.
The negative pressure.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing. Like, that's why emotions are so important.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the truth about any of our desires, any of the things that we want. What's keeping us from it is the garbage that we put in the way ourselves. So it's the resistance that we throw in the way on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, if we just let go, we find that relief.
Yeah.
And it comes.
Yes.
Just like that.
We're our own resistance to our challenges.
There was a quote that I saw on Facebook that someone put up that said, "We are gods that get bored and put challenges in our own way."
We're the ants and the magnifying glass.
Yes, exactly. I love that so much. So let's talk about creating a business. So when someone starts actually, before we do that, let's talk about poker.
Okay.
So this is interesting because this relates to poker. Poker's so relatable, by the way. I love
Poker's life.
Yeah, poker is
in
life.
game form.
right. So if these are going to be beginner poker things.
Okay.
So that people, we're playing poker after this tonight. By the way, we'll stream that too.
I'm here for the poker. No, I'm enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding, but I'm looking forward to the poker.
There is something the beginner poker players do. That there's kind of first level and second level, so I'm just going to try and move people to the second level. The first level is you get your cards and you look at your cards. You look at what's placed out on the table, the cards on the table,
Yes.
and you look at the chips and you look at your chips. And you try and figure out, how does my cards work with those? How much should I bet depending on what's out there in the middle? So that's a very beginner poker player.
Well, that's one step past, because if they're really true beginners, then they're looking at their what hand beats what hand sheet, like
Sure.
rule card that they have right there to their left.
Right.
So this is
right.
stage
right.
2.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes.
But the stage after this,
Yes.
then comes from looking at the other players and see how the other players are playing.
Yep.
So now it's figuring out, okay, he just made a big bet, which either means he has a good hand or he's bluffing.
Yep.
So I've got to figure out what that means for him, and in the next successive bets, what does this look like? And so that's the next level for a beginner poker player. If you're a beginner poker player, it's good to look at your stuff, and it's good to look and see how things are working in your hand compared to what's in the middle. That's 101. 102 is now you have to empathetically look at the other players and create a story about those other players and say, this is why that player most likely is doing that thing.
You're looking for patterns.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yes.
And I would, now the reason I bring this into this discussion tonight is that when you can move to that second step and you can start to see a bigger picture, then you can start to see opportunities. Then those opportunities will kind of create some sparks in your life. You'll go, now that I'm not just focused on myself and I can see other people and what they're doing and what the next move is, now I can say, oh, if we're starting a business, oh, people have a major problem with this thing. I know how to solve that thing. That would be the inception of a very good business. There was, I can't remember her name. There's a lady who's on The Apprentice, a really amazing lady that I went to a talk that she gave, and she said, your pain is your $1 million idea. Your biggest pain in your life. Whatever that pain is, if you can solve that for other people, that will be your $1 million idea. So whether it's
true.
Having a child, whether it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter what that is. I had a friend who went through some childhood trauma, and she helps other people through childhood trauma, and she makes a really good living doing it. The higher the problem, the more pain in the problem that other people have, the more money that you can make in solving it for other people if you do it well, right?
Oh, I love that message. So true.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about starting a business?
I love the analogy with poker. I love that your first instinct is, rather than looking inward, look outward. Look at the outlay of the land. Try to feel the emotions of others, and try to think outside yourself of solving problems out there, pain.
Right.
And yes, absolutely, there is no business unless you're solving a problem.
Right.
Like, love watching Shark Tank, very similar to the Apprentice concept, but with Shark Tank, you know, you start to see patterns where you see an inventor come and present, and it does, like, it's a brilliant idea, it's creative, but it's not, even if it solves a problem, it's not a scalable problem. It's a very unique problem with a very limited pool of individuals that would solve problems, like very, very niche. And yes, I'm a firm believer there's riches in the niches, but sometimes you can go too finite. So you have to understand, how scalable is this, and then you can, once you identify that's the big picture, then you can get into the fun part of building your business, the organization, the reverse engineering.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And it also, it has to be in context of your hand, obviously, but looking outside of yourself is super important. And Sean, it's good to see you, brother. Are we gonna see you tonight?
No, because he's on training.
Oh, he's doing training.
So
that's
Sean,
right.
Sean, love you, man. Sean's a Army veteran, and he's on training, sacrificing, being a patriot for our country. So Sean, we miss you.
Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Yeah. Good luck out there.
And honestly, he's the most brilliant dog trainer on the planet.
Incredible. Incredible. Talk about a good business.
I have a new puppy.
Yep, I'm training, he says. Yep.
Yep. So I have a new puppy, Doberman. We lost tragically too early our other Doberman named Duke, who's the greatest dog in the world. No one can replace Duke, but he died at six years, which is early. And I have this new puppy, and we got the puppy early because we have a Great Dane that really went into like dog depression over losing his best friend.
Oh, that's sad.
And we're still in grieving, so it just didn't feel right to run out and get this replacement. Like we're grieving our dog.
Yeah, right.
So, but we did. We went out and got another Doberman puppy named Enzo. But Enzo's a puppy. He has sharp teeth, and he loves to bite my kids. So I was lamenting to Sean what was happening, and he had this. And I grew up around dogs, and I think I know dogs well. And Sean had this one little tip to do, and I'll share it with everybody, to correct that behavior, and it worked really quickly, very effectively. It's humane. You're not hurting the dog, but it made it so my kids felt empowered to get Enzo to stop biting them.
Okay.
And it worked really quickly. He's only a 12 weeks old puppy.
Huh.
So, can I share?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Sean. So here's Sean. Sean,
Thank you, Sean.
Sean's brilliant. I've seen dogs.
I don't know why I'm talking louder.
Yeah.
He's not over there.
So Sean Knudsen is the world's greatest dog trainer. So the puppy, they have their flesh in your mouth probably in the moment of biting, and dogs have really, really short memories. So if you don't have a way to correct the behavior literally live while it's happening, it creates confusion for that dog. You can't. So just tip to everyone: you come home and your puppy made a mess on the carpet, and because they went to the bathroom, if you then take your dog and rub their nose through it and correct them, then they do not associate that the accident on the carpet is what they did wrong. What they're associating with is, hey, when master comes home, it might mean I'm in trouble. I don't know why. And so it can misassociate pain and around something you didn't intend.
Yeah, right.
So the correction with puppies, and it works, and so I'm testimonial, is, and my youngest is 6, and I love Beckham. He loves puppies, but it's a love-hate relationship because Enzo hurts him. You should see his arms. But when the puppy goes and grabs Beckham's hand, I taught Beckham, take your thumb and put it in Enzo's mouth, and that soft spot between the back of your teeth and your tongue, take and push down on the puppy's mouth right there. Your hand's already in his mouth. He's biting you. Push down, not to hurt him, but to put pressure. It's a very uncomfortable for us humans and for a dog, that feeling. So now we attach, hey, when human flesh is in my mouth, that's an uncomfortable feeling. I don't want to do that anymore.
Huh.
It empowers the kid, and it corrects the dog really quickly, and it worked beautifully.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, so we avoid pain.
Yes, yes, and hopefully I just help some people with puppies.
Okay, that's good to know. Our dogs don't bite that way, but I know a lot of dogs that. Oh, he says nicely done. Well done.
No, thank you, Sean.
All right, so let's move on to relationships to create a spark. Now, Dave and I we're longtime married.
Yep. How many years?
17.
20 this year.
Dude.
I just had my 20th. And good job, 17.
Yeah, thanks.
Sweet 17.
Yeah, thanks.
That was more a sweet 16, but 17's better.
Yeah, like our relationship is very sweet and beautiful. It's every relationship has ups and downs, but I mean, I think our relationship is just incredible. But at some point, there's not the same dopamine hit, if that makes sense. There's not that spark. There's not that like massive emotional reaction.
Yeah, the Twitter, as Bambi, or being Twitter-pated.
Twitter-pated. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes.
So whether you're single and you're in a girlfriend relationship, or you're in a long-term relationship like us, there are a lot of things that you can do to create spark. So let's see. I actually I haven't thought about this myself. I have to think about some things that I do to create spark in our relationship. One of the things that I have done to create spark in our relationship are to do new and surprising things. So at some point, you kind of start doing the same things over and over again. You've been married for years and years and years, and you know what each other likes, so you just do the same thing over and over again. So, for example, a few months ago, Emily was going to be coming home from Italy and stopping over in Vegas. So I decided that I was going to go to Vegas, and we were just going to have our own little vacation in Vegas before she came home.
So Vegas was going to be a short stop. Was the plan for her plan, and you?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Got
right.
it. Got it.
And it was amazing. It was, it's honestly, it's not something we'd ever done before. Vegas, I don't know, we're kind of newly non-religious. So we went to Vegas and decided to do some of the newly non-religious things.
So this is fairly recent.
Yeah, fairly recent.
Got you.
And it was really a trip to remember. Like it was incredible. So,
well, I think I see you guys as very spiritual, just non-specific denomination.
Yeah.
Rule book.
Oh, really quickly, duty calls, Sean. You can watch the rest later. That's great.
Thank you, Sean.
Glad you're here. Brandon, it's okay to pull out of the game tonight. Not that big a deal. We got someone to replace you pretty quickly. You're replaceable. No, I'm just kidding. You are absolutely not replaceable.
Brandon and Sean are good players. So
they're great players, and Brandon, on many levels, is my right hand man. Like I'm very creative, visionary guy. He is methodical.
He notices things others don't.
Oh, absolutely. I've known him since high school.
Really?
And anytime I have any computer problem that I can't figure out, I'm like, Brandon, what's going on? Yeah, cold Nate. It's not. Sorry, Brandon.
Inside joke. I like Brandon a lot. When we were shooting for Ace in the Hole, Brandon is Mr. Consistent. There, never complained.
Yeah.
Would notice little details. I could see that he really took a lot of pride, and he was a real professional. And I hope Brandon felt it, but I always felt like I wanted to thank Brandon just like after every rap, just to say, you're awesome, thank you.
He's incredible.
Yes.
So let's get back to the topic. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Spark. So relationship spark in all forms, as far as like being in love.
Yeah.
Because you can love somebody, have immense love.
Yeah.
You can show love and feel love for anybody. But we're talking about that in love, that spark.
Yes,
with your significant other.
Right.
You're right. Yeah, 20 years, and there's ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I would say marriage at 20 years is significantly. I haven't figured everything out, and that's what's fun. Like it still feels like it's an adventure, but I know a lot more today than I did at year 10 or year 15.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting from your story and what I'm getting at to answer your question is I would imagine that the response you had from Emily, you know, talk about love language.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that we do as humans is we assume automatically, because we're very tribal. It comes back just like prehistoric man. We assimilate, and we gravitate around people that we feel are like us. And we can do that as a couple, where you could, your love language, how you feel love, you could assume that in your partner.
Yeah.
And so I would assume with Emily that a surprise, spontaneity, showing that you planned, you went out of your way to surprise her, probably is closely correlated to her love language.
Yeah.
Right? Is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's consistent with women. I think a lot.
But you know what? Love language changed though.
They do.
You know, when we first got married, Emily was very much touch. She is not touch anymore at all. And I think that has more to do with kids.
Maybe now that you're Mr. Dashing, like super sexy, leaner Nate, maybe that might change a little.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll wait and see. Keep us updated.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated. Well, she's also lost a good amount of weight herself. So,
good job,
yeah. So we've kind of been on the same little plan. But yeah, maybe that's her love language. I also think at some point in our relationship, and honestly, I got to a place where we were both a little bit bored with our relationship, honestly.
Yeah, I think a lot of couples could relate with that at certain times.
Yeah. That, and you know, there's a little bit of a mismatch with sex drive, and I think that happens with a lot of couples. Sex drive is mismatched, especially because I work out all the time, so it's just something you have to deal with as a couple. Most couples have to deal with it. You guys probably don't.
No,
most couples
don't assume. I think everyone can relate with that, and the struggle happens when you're not on the same page with that.
Right.
But what makes it worse or exaggerates the situation is when assumptions are made and there's a lack of communication.
Right. Yeah.
Not being able to communicate and be vulnerable and feel okay to say, hey, these are my needs, this is what I desire, and it's not that I'm not expecting you to completely compromise and give you everything I want, but me understanding where you're coming from, you understand where I'm coming from, that compromise, and I know sometimes we hate that word because it feels like you're giving something up, but that is what a relationship is there's a form of compromising, is find that middle ground, and it's always a moving target.
Right.
But communication, being honest, and the thing about honesty is trust is built when you give honesty. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're a jerk. It doesn't mean, speaking to guys, it doesn't mean that you're brutally honest. You do so with love and care, but you have a conversation where you're honest and you're vulnerable and you're saying things that aren't easy, because we grow up a lot of us grow up in being told that you don't want to say anything that could hurt somebody's feelings. You always need to be pleasant. Like, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Like, there's pre-programmed when we grow up as children where it's there. We struggle as adults. No wonder why we struggle as adults. That honesty and transparency and being your authentic self is the key to real, lasting, authentic, strong connection relationships, where your chances of attracting your soulmate, your true partner you're supposed to be with, that you can attract that because you're already living your authentic life and self, rather than the role that you feel like society needs you to be.
Well, this is interesting. It brings me back into some points in my marriage where I stopped communicating at some level about this, because I'm the kind of guy who just has a really massive sex drive, and I just got hurt at some point and I stopped communicating about it. Just very don't answer that. Don't answer that.
Sorry, you laid it up.
Yeah, I totally did. At some point I stopped communicating about it because I just felt hurt and I felt afraid and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I started being vulnerable again that things started to heal and things started to make more sense in our marriage, and that our marriage really started to thrive again. But that vulnerability is not easy for a lot of men. Like, especially that kind of vulnerability, because I want Emily to feel good all the time. I don't want her to feel any pressure. I don't want her to feel like I want to change her in any way. But at some level, she also wants to know. She wants to know. If your partner cares about you, and I'm guessing if you're married or you have a girlfriend, they probably care about you, or they wouldn't be with you still. Then communicating and being vulnerable in a way that's telling them, I'm not telling you I want to change you. I'm only telling you what my preference is in the moment. If you can portray that to them in a loving way, they will thank you for it.
And just once they know, and that, so communicating and then being patient and not expecting things to change right away as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a work in progress. But, man, a bunch of thoughts. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're gonna have that conversation. This is this is late night with Corey and Dr. Drew right now.
That's
Here
right.
We go. Sex talk.
Sex talk right here, right now.
Yes. Who's Corey and who's Dr. Drew? Though?
I am Drew. I'm Nate Drew. So maybe I'm.
There you. So I get to be the loudmouth, obnoxious one, and you get to be the regal doctor.
I guess.
Okay, so the thing that happens is men and women are more similar as far as wanting to feel attractive, wanting to feel wanted, wanting to feel like their needs are met, but also feel like you're giving and you're sharing.
Yeah.
Like you want to make your partner happy, you want to satisfy your partner, and you want to feel attractive. Like all that is there. And the thing is you can create bad situations of resentment if you let your needs and your thoughts and your desires not be talked about. So the thing is something my wife and I have been doing, and it's not easy. It takes consistency to create the habit, but you have to have different types of planned conversations that you have. So you want to date your partner, but you guys have to have roles.
Yeah.
So the way I look at this is my wife and I, we are first and foremost, it's important to be best friends.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Like she's my best friend.
Right.
Okay? An upgrade term would be she's my partner. Okay, what does that mean? She's my partner in everything. So we're co-parents over 4 kids.
Right.
So there's times where we need to have a conversation where we're entering that conversation as co-parents that care equally about our kids.
Right.
That's the topic, that's the plan, and you have to set that time apart. There's times where you want to date each other and you want to have romance, and so plan dates. Super, super important. And men typically are this way, not all men, but this is me. I'm really good at compartmentalizing. So if there's something somewhere else in a category of our life that's stressful, but we're on a date to be romantic, I tend to be able to compartmentalize, put this over here, not worry about it.
Right.
But not my wife. And I'm not saying it's a fault in her, but she's hardwired differently. So what I have took me a really long time, and it's a work in progress. What I found is that the date part, maybe the date needs to shift. I need to be flexible, because if I can be patient and just say, you know what, because something I always struggle with is I hate when things go outside of the plan.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like a control freak, perfectionist thing. So if we had something scheduled or planned, and now this over here is bothering her, and this is going to now sabotage our plans, then there's been times where it pisses me off, and I'm trying to act patient, but she can see past the fake, patient David, and I'm not being authentic. I'm pissed off that the plans got sabotaged because she's being so emotional about this thing over here.
Right.
I thought, hey, let's put that on the shelf. So something that again,
by the way, Emily and I are so the same way. Absolutely.
Is what I'm figuring out, and boy, I'm a slow study, is that if I need to disassociate that life is fluid, plans change.
Right.
That's what's fun. That's adventure when things go off of the plan.
Right.
So what I've been trying to do, and this is a work in progress, and I'm not perfect, is putting those plans on hold, hitting pause emotionally, and going and having this on-plan conversation about something that is bothering her in a different category, and being there for her. Right. Because I'm telling you, the magic that I've seen where if you feel like your partner is selfish or they're not thinking about your needs, chances are is they feel the same way about you.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like we're just mirrors.
Yep.
So if I show her that I'm putting her first, and I'm being generous with my time, and I'm there, and I'm listening, and again, the other big problem is I mentioned to you that fixing cars is I like to fix things. So I have to fight that mechanism of like, listen and feel and be a part of those emotions and go through that walk with your partner, and don't try to just listen for cues of like your quick response to fix it and think that that's a fix.
Right.
Like that's not the point most of the time. It's not about a quick fix.
It's and to not take it personally too.
Yes.
Like when something happens like that, like in the past, I would have taken it very personally and say, well, you don't love me. Like it's overly dramatic. And listening at home, maybe you would say that's way too dramatic. But in my heart, and I would never say this out loud, but in my heart, I would go, "Oh, ouch! It's not important enough to her to be on time to do this thing with me on the day that we said that we were going to." And instead of saying that, realize that stuff can shift, stuff can change. It's life, like whatever.
Let it go.
Even if she's not feeling good in the moment, even if for some reason she's pissed off at me and she just doesn't want to hang out with me, well, it's probably a good thing that we're not going to hang out if she's pissed off at me. Like, it's just going to make things worse anyway.
Yeah, and it might not be... This is where intuition, your gut feeling, so it comes back to emotions, right?
Yeah.
So check in before a problem can really be fixed. You have to make sure your own emotions, you're grounded.
Yes.
Where meditation, breathing, something that where my wife struggles is sometimes I need to like a timeout. I need a break. I need to be able to step away from a situation. I need to go off, be by myself. It's like I'm an extrovert in situations, and I am the world's biggest introvert in other situations.
Yep.
And I need my alone time. I need to be able to step away, and if she can give that to me, and it's not very long a lot of times. It could literally be 5 minutes. It could be an hour. It could be a day.
Right.
But we've been married 20 years. We've known each other for almost 22.
Right.
Like, what is a day? What is a day in the grand scheme of things of forever? Then to get your head right, to then go back, because you can't. There's situations where if you feel like this has to be addressed right now, I would challenge why. The word has to, really, if you really break it down, how many things in life really come down to it has to be right now?
In fact, Emily and I have gotten to a point where we realize emotions are so important. So this is all comes back to emotions and spark and all that. Emotions are so important. We know there are certain things that are physically that change our emotions and we're in a bad place. We know if it's late at night and one of us has to talk about something, we know it's the wrong time. And
this doesn't end well.
Yeah. So we have a safe word, which is a purple people eater. It's like, we're done. We can deal with this at another time because emotions are too high. The ball is rolling too quickly, and if we get into this, it's just going to get worse. So let's table it. Let's sleep. Yeah, I don't like the advice of never sleep angry. Like, sometimes it's beyond figuring out the anger. Sometimes when you sleep, you're able to get rid of that momentum, and you wake up in a different place. So I don't normally go to sleep angry, but if there's so much momentum and we're at that place late at night, sometimes we just have to say, that's enough. Yeah. Let's table it. Let's come back to it when we feel better.
I'm a little different. I actually, I'm hardwired different, and my wife's different this way. I agree with you that it's hard to hash things out and have it come from the right place when you're tired.
Yeah.
But if my wife and I are not in unified and not in synergy, like being very, very vulnerable and transparent.
Sure.
That I view us sleeping in the same bed as more than just a place we happen to sleep in the same bed.
Right.
Like that means so much more to me. So if we're out of sync, if I'm angry with her or she's angry with me, I struggle sleeping. Like I like, in fact, I know that it's almost like impossible for me to sleep in that place if we're not in alignment.
Right.
And
I totally get that.
And everybody's different, but this is me. And so we have weather permitting, we have a really awesome like bed swing. It's within 20 feet of where our bed is, but it's a different space, and sometimes we just need space, and I need to be able to go through those motions. And there's times where I value sleep very, very, very much, and this is why I put such high value that I do what I can to be present so that her and I on average are in alignment. And so by the end of the day, if there's been something we've resolved it, that's not always doable.
Sure.
But the reason why that's so important to me is because we go to bed, we end our day in alignment, and then I can sleep.
Right.
If we're not, I can't sleep, and that's why I have, like, I don't chronically have insomnia, but that emotional on alignment, I can't sleep.
I totally get that, and in fact, I've been through that, so I get it. I don't know that since we instated the word, I don't think we've ever actually used it. So because I think what it really does is it helps you focus on going, because you're right, I wouldn't sleep either, but it helps you focus and go, no, back up, we're on the same page. Because that's really what should happen, is that you should notice when things start to get off the track just a little bit. So you meet it right at the beginning of when things start, instead of, you're trying to stop a car that's going down a massive hill at the very bottom of the hill.
AKA resentment. Built up resentment.
Yes.
On communicated issues or unmet needs that you keep inside for whatever narratives you don't communicate, because you're telling yourself these narratives. Like, they're not going to listen, they're not going to care, nothing's going to change, they don't understand me, they don't hear me. These are all the narratives we tell ourselves. And unfortunately, a lot of times there is, I love, there's some concepts when it comes to our inner voices that have just been really blown my mind, is that there's voices in our head, and they're always going. Okay? And when we are looking inside and we're trying to know who we are and really what our values are, and like, who is Nate? And I'll apply this to myself. Who is Dave? The voice that is in your head, your subconscious, the one that's always throwing out the things to look out for, the worry, the fear, the worry, the constant assessment, that is there for our protection back since our inception of mankind. We're not trying to avoid saber-toothed tigers anymore. Okay? The threats are a lot less obvious. And a lot of times they're over-perceived because our subconscious has our reticular system of our brain, which is always filtering information, because if it didn't exist, that reticular, then we want to be able to quiet the noise. It constantly feeds information to us of like what to subconsciously notice to keep you safe, that's important to you, and what is white noise versus all of your senses. Okay?
Sure.
So we'll talk about the voice of the subconscious. The subconscious is there to keep us safe. Some authors, there's a book called Untethered Soul. Okay, and it describes that that voice, your subconscious, is called your inner roommate. Okay. But
I like that.
It makes a big distinction, and that voice is not you. Then there's other voices. There's other voices that you hear that are positive. Like, there's like someone cheering you on. like your bigger, higher self, like you're like it's arguing with the subconscious, the negative, where you've got this inner child of fear, or this self that has had bad experiences, that's been hurt, that has unresolved fears, and then you have this other self that's cheering you on, and they feel like they're at odds. Okay, what this book suggests is you're not either voices.
Okay.
Who you are is the one hearing the voices.
Huh.
So you're the one hearing, and you're the one feeling this battle of emotions that are happening inside your head.
Okay.
And to me, it's been such a fascinating thing, because then it makes me feel like I have more control over these voices, and who it's like the dog that is the loudest is the one you feed. So what out external things am I feeding? Am I feeding the voice that sees my true potential, the confident side, the one that's the positive, fighting against the fear? Or am I feeding the voice of fear that wants to just keep me safe?
So the cool thing about that is that now you become an unemotional observer. You can divorce your emotions from the two different sides, and you can just say, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What would I choose?
You're observing, and so there's a curiosity, and it's fascinating.
Right. Huh. I love that. Well, especially when we get down to spouse, to relationships, and we'll cover other relationships on other shows.
I love to do tangents.
Yeah.
I just listen. There's another voice that I listen to that takes me on these tangents.
I love that. But this was a perfect conversation about relationships, because to me, honestly, the spousal relationship is the most challenging thing in my life, period. And I'm not saying it's challenging in a bad way necessarily. It's challenging in a way that helps me to grow. There's no single person on the face of the planet that has allowed me to grow more than Emily.
Yes. I agree about Stacy. Stacy, if you're listening, same thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure she would say the same thing about me, but probably. A relationship with another person that is that close and that specific, and you're with each other that long, there is challenge to it, because you're not the same person. You're not. They talk about being the same person when you get married, but it's not. That's not what it is. You're two very distinct, very different people with very different personalities, very different ideas.
But that's where attraction is formed.
Right.
Like there's a counter, that the and it's not there's energy, there's a masculine and feminine.
Yep.
And the biggest thing we assume is that automatically it's always gender applied, and that's not always the case, and it's not always permanent. And so the thing that us men can do is tapping more into that feminine side to connect with our wife emotionally, and when she feels that connection is there, that's true intimacy for our wives and our significant other. And guess what? Reciprocity, right? That feeling when you feel like someone connected with you and understood you, or that you were taken care of. There is a human trait of reciprocity. So guess what? Now your wife may be more inclined to, I'm going to really tap into that more masculine, like physical connection with him, because my emotional needs over here got met. And there's that compliment, where that polarization, where if you can come to her side and connect with her, the reciprocation can be really, really amazing.
Interesting. I love that. Thank you, Jay. This has been a great conversation. Thank you. Okay. I actually want to go on with this topic, but we'll have to do it another time because we don't have a ton of time left. I was going to go into a little bit of this, and I'll broach this from a relationship standpoint.
Okay.
I'm going to get into my story of losing weight and that kind of stuff, because we're going to move it.
Super proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Blown my mind.
I appreciate that. Part of doing this was part of my relationship. I felt it was stale. I felt that there's got to be some ways that I can, make it more fun, and realizing, you know what, I wear shorts and a t-shirt all the time. There's no mystery in that. I'm overweight, Very fit, very strong, super strong.
Crazy, freaky, scary, strong.
Super strong.
I would never want to fight you.
Right. But I also realized Peter Diamandis says this in his book Abundance, which is if there's two good choices, choose them both. And in this instance, I decided to choose them both. I wanted to be very strong. I wanted to break the world record for discus in the Olympics. And I wanted to look good. I wanted to look amazing on camera. Now, I look a lot better than I did for sure. One of the things that got me to decide to lose the weight was actually in one of it was the last filming that we had the Ace in the Hole contestants there. And I went and I watched the footage. I was like, damn, I look really big. Like,
those are hard moments.
Yeah.
But aren't those pivotal moments?
They are, times? Absolutely. Yeah.
That realization.
Yeah.
Where it's like, man, that crept up.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. But it was really good. Really, really good for me to say, I get to be do or have anything that I want. Mm-hmm. And if I can be, do, or have anything that I want, what do I choose? Well, I choose to look good. I choose to lose the weight. I choose to have the six-pack. I choose to... you probably can't see on camera, but like even with this shirt, it's kind of like loose.
Yeah, dude, you need to pick the fitted version.
Yeah, I know, right? But I lost 70 pounds in 40 days.
Crazy, man. And you did it healthy.
Very healthy. I was eating more food than I was even beforehand. It just means I was eating
some of the best fitness leaders talk about that. It's that they thought they didn't know what they didn't know, and they thought that it was the calorie restriction, less food, that led to what they were after.
Right.
And a lot of them, someone that I know and follow a lot, his name's Weston Boucher. He's one of the biggest male fitness models in the country. He lives in California.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing he talks about, and it's huge, crazy contrast, is he wasn't eating enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course, of the right foods.
Right.
But if you look at his physique of where he was when he was eating less versus now, it is such a crazy contrast, but he had to shift his beliefs.
For example, my brother Mike, who you know very well, he paid to be at a clinic in Arizona, in Sedona, where they would monitor him medically, and he would not eat for 40 days. He lost a little over 40 pounds. Or was it a little under, a little over 40
I didn't
pounds.
know this.
Yeah.
Mike did that?
He did.
Wow.
Contrast where what I did for 40 days, the same amount of time, I lost 70 pounds eating a crap ton of food.
Did you guys have, I always think kind of scientifically here, so did you, as far as percentages go, were you guys pretty equal as far as weight to lose as percentages, so those pounds were pretty...
That's a really interesting question. I haven't thought about that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I obviously had more muscle than he did. Sorry, Mike, I don't mean to say obviously. But I'm training.
Mike, you're a gentleman and a scholar. We all want to be like you.
Yes, absolutely. He probably wasn't quite as heavy as I was. So I probably had a little bit more to lose. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it would equate to 70 versus 40 pounds.
Right. It doesn't bridge the gap even close.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So when I had, and in fact, my brother had gone through this before I decided to do Vitalife, and my friend Davis, who I met in Guatemala, he said, "Nate, I can lose you twice as much as what your brother did." That's crazy, dude. You think you can? Yeah. We do this scan. We scan your body, and your body tells us exactly what you're craving. You know who Iron Cowboy is, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's the same scan that he does. So it scans his whole body, and he figures out what his body needs, so he doesn't fall apart while he's doing 100 Ironmans in 100 days.
He has to do that approach, or his body would
just fall apart
itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so he took the same thing, and he just re-engineered it for weight loss. And so
Dallas is the one who came up. Lawrence is the Iron Cowboy. He's the one that came up with this.
No. The Iron Cowboy took a technology that he used for his own good.
That he applied.
But
he is obviously an extreme testimonial to the max of this.
And it's called a Zytoscan. Is what it's called.
Zytoscan.
Okay. And so my friend Davis took the Zytoscan and re-engineered it for weight loss. And so not only does it tells you the proteins, it tells you the fruits, it tells you the vegetables, it tells you all that in order what your body is craving. So it'll give you a list of those things, and at the top is what your body's craving the most. But it will also give you the minerals and the oils and the vitamins and all of those things that your body's asking for. It will tell you how your internal organs are functioning and the emotions that you have that are out of whack.
So this is like, we get blood work. And a lot of people, like, you need to get your blood work. This is blood work and then, like, to the 10th degree.
Yeah, so this goes through all of your electrical stuff in your body.
Synapses.
Yeah, exactly. And Davis explains, I can't explain it the way Davis does, but basically emotions are hormones, and these hormones have proteins, and these proteins connect specifically to different organs. And so the scan can tell you exactly where the proteins are and how many and what kinds of proteins. And so it'll tell you basically,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it knows exactly what your emotions are, and it's been accurate every time I've done this scan, telling me exactly where my emotions are.
Because where your chemical levels are at.
Because of where my chemical levels are at in my body. And not it'll tell you all that, and it'll actually give you affirmations. So the way he engineered it,
the ones that you need,
the ones that I specifically need for the emotions, it's really brilliant. Like,
holy,
yeah, right,
shit.
right.
Wow,
it's incredible.
Why? When can I make an appointment?
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
So the whole thing is just incredible. Like, nobody has this technology out there but him. And he engineered it because he understood, he was a nutritionist beforehand, and he kind of understood how the body functioned with the chemicals. We have these amazing chemical whatever, machines.
Yeah.
Factories, if you will.
Yes.
And if we know what these chemical factories are asking for and what they need and how to get in balance, like, you just get healthy.
So we're meant to be fit.
We're meant to be healthy.
We're meant to be healthy.
We're meant to be healthy. And it should be easy.
And it's the absence of something or too much of something or a combination of things that lead to unhealthiness and the body and the feelings and the emotions you don't want.
Yeah, exactly right.
You literally are what you eat.
And that's maybe an overly simplistic way of saying it, maybe. But the truth is, you should always emotionally feel good. You should always physically feel good. And if you're not emotionally and physically feeling good, then there's something you need to do.
It doesn't mean that you can't feel really bad in a bad situation, but I think our resilience.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's at the resilience levels.
Sure. Reactions are what they are. At some level, you can change your emotions. Reactions, you just have to deal with the reactions. But after, I think it's 17 seconds or something, after 17 seconds, then you can start to deal with the reaction, the emotional reaction that you had.
17 seconds.
Yep.
17 seconds, guys. There's all of life's
17 seconds. That's what it really.
17 seconds.
It really is it.
If you can survive 17 seconds.
Absolutely. So anyway, so I'm at a place where I can see my abs again, and I can flex, and you can see my muscles really well, and I am on purpose being and doing the things that I want. Yes. It's all on purpose. But this is why I say you can be, do, or have anything you want. There are so many people out there who I want to talk about the very beginning, the choice that I made to do the program to begin with.
Yeah, because it took a moment where you made a decision.
So even before I even knew about Vitalife, I said, I do want to lose weight. I don't know how, and I want to lose a lot of weight really fast, and I don't know how. But I'm going to be open to the idea that things out there where I can lose 100 pounds in just a few months and not chop off an arm or a leg. Like, I think it's out there. I don't know what it is. I don't think surgery is the answer. I hate that idea. I think there's just a natural way where I can just shed the pounds. And I just allowed myself to be open to the idea. And I sat with it and I said, this is possible. And then I met him in Guatemala. He says, this is exactly how you do it. Wow. Okay. Well, now I know. I know this is what I was looking for, and I'm in 100%. I'm going to make it easy on myself. I'm not going to do anything crazy or outside of the plan. And in the past, I would question everything about it. because I know so much about nutrition. I know so much about health. Like, I know a ton about it. And I had to say, I will not ask questions. I'm just going to follow this because everything he's already told me, I know he knows what he's talking about. I'm going to follow the plan and just do it.
So the key is, yes, the answer to the question, which was your plan that you followed, obviously was the right one. But you weren't ready for the right answer until you were asking and set yourself up for asking yourself the right questions.
Yeah, exactly right. Ask the right questions. And then there's, 75 hard, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So part of that is that you pick a diet and you stick to it.
Full disclosure, I've attempted it more than once, and it's still a goal.
Okay, nice. So 75 hard, he just says, pick a diet and stick to it. That's all. No cheat days.
Yep.
I actually believe that. I think if you just pick a diet, just pick something that you believe is going to work and stick to it, it'll work.
Yep.
Now, some will be slower and some will be longer, and like some will be shorter and some will be easier and some will be harder. But if you just stick to a plan, eventually it's going to work for you.
Yes.
And eventually that plan, if it's not working for you in the moment, you will then know, I'm doing these things, it's not working for me, I'm going to make some tweaks. And eventually you'll figure out how to make it work for you. Most people just get to the point where they're like, I'm overwhelmed, I've done this for a week, there's no change, I'm just going to quit. That's most people. And quite frankly, I've done that several times myself. So what you have to do is get to a point where you say, no, I'm just going to do the thing. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I'm going to do it till it's done. And then if you need to make tweaks, make tweaks. That's great. Make tweaks, but do the thing.
Yeah, and you're coming from the right place, right emotions to make the right tweaks, make the right decisions, because you come from that place with the right emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate with that, and it's being ready for change, and it's being when you've committed to it and made that decision. The first thing is making the decision, and then putting your foot forward, and the next foot, taking that proverbial step forward. I've done, this about me, is I've had good success. I've done it for other reasons than just weight loss, but prolonged fasting.
Yeah.
Right? And it's mentally, it's very hard.
Yeah.
It's actually significantly physically easier than what most people think, but it's
Day 3 is
hard.
rough.
Yeah, yes. And I talked to somebody the other day that told me they made it to day 5, and I was expecting them to tell me that it got easier after day 3.
Yeah.
And for him, it wasn't. It was just as hard day 5 as it was day 3.
Oh, really?
And that is a lesson that everybody's different.
Yeah, that's true.
But what I've done is on 2 occasions, I've done 2 11-day water-only fasts.
Okay.
And then I've done multiple 7 days, and then I've done multiple, when I'm doing intermittent fasting, I love to do for a good example is I'll have my last meal, let's say it's a Monday night, I'll have my last meal Monday night, not too late. Eating too late is not great for our blood sugar levels and insulin. So that'll be my last meal. I'll completely be fasted on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Go to bed Tuesday night and then eat Wednesday morning. And that's a really good intermittent fasting because if you think about it, I'm sleeping 16 hours of that time. So as far as like willpower and just trying to do a shortcut and hack it and make it easier, it's really, really good to have that longer extended period.
Yeah.
But for me personally, the fasting has been really, really good to help me with injuries.
Right.
And one of the injuries is I had a horrific ankle break like 11 years ago playing basketball. Really negative prognosis. My talar dome of my foot died because of lack of blood flow.
Whoa.
And I should have had surgery, but the doctor made a mistake and didn't prescribe that.
Oh,
so
geez.
I was for years I was walking around easy to roll my ankle. I knew if a storm was coming in because my ankle hurt. And so it just was really bad in quality of life, and I felt handicapped. I literally felt handicapped for a couple of years, and that really took a negative toll on my psyche.
Yeah.
And original credit, because the person who brought me onto it was my uncle David Kent, who's a doctor in Idaho. He did with his wife. He did a lot of studies, and they do I think once a year. But his first fast, him and his wife did. My aunt Carol did a 21-day water fast. 3 weeks.
Wow.
3 weeks. And I thought that's crazy. Water
Right.
only?
Right.
That defies all logic of what we're supposed to do as humans. And then I respect him. He has a doctorate, and he knows a thing or two. So I want, like, what's the science? So we're talking about the science, and I said, what the heck? So I did it. And I did 11 days my first time, and I went into this with that whole ankle issue. And the willpower, though, so it helped me physically, but and today, my ankle, I'm gonna do this. I have an MRI of my ankle when I broke it.
Okay.
I have an MRI of 2 years later when I had this chronic, horrible handicap.
Okay.
And what I'm lacking is an MRI today. And I'd love to do that, pay the $400, just get it, and then contrast those three. And I bet you there'd be professional doctors that look at that and think I'm lying, because I have no issue in my ankle today, and I contribute to fasting.
That's amazing. So we're talking about spark. Tell me about that spark at the beginning of that. What you heard they were fasting, you heard they were doing this. What made you decide to do it instead of run away from it?
Great question. So, perspective, belief. So and this goes with general, but anytime I've ever felt like I was stuck in a cycle of getting the same results, whether it's my ankle, like it wasn't getting better.
Right.
Everything I tried wasn't getting better.
Yeah, right.
Or I'm stuck at a certain income level, or I feel like my relationships in my life are not going on. I'm stuck in a cycle.
Yeah, right.
That the key is a shift of a belief.
Okay.
Or a perspective.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes that comes, I feel like now I have more tools, more knowledge available where I can self-correct better than I have in my life.
Okay.
But some of the biggest moments happen when I had a coach or a mentor where I put full trust in them, and I was honest and came to them with the challenge.
Yeah.
And then they gave me some type of big pearl of wisdom or nugget or shift in my, just like, emotionally, verbally shook me to have me see a different perspective. Then it was up to me to listen. That those are the biggest points. So the spark comes from whether it's your ability to self-correct, self-evaluate, being honest with yourself, or someone in a position that you trust them and you go to them with and you're open. That's where the sparks for me have happened.
But it seems to me, though, that the spark happens either way. Like you get that moment of, ooh, this could work.
Yeah.
Like this emotional charge where it's like, oh my gosh, wait.
Hope.
Yeah.
Like, hope is such a beautiful, amazing word.
Yeah.
Hope gets us through bad days. Hope or spark. No matter how bad the moment is, if you have hope, then you can have belief that you can get through this crisis, this moment, that you can be a better person tomorrow than you are today.
You know, I want to talk about this just briefly, just a little bit more, because
I
really wonder if there's a difference between hope and inspiration. Is there a difference? Because I think this happens a lot, and I think for every desire I have, I really honestly think there are hundreds of ways to achieve that thing, whatever it is. My question is that spark, that emotion in the moment, telling me that's one of them? You pick that if you want to, and that'll get you what you want.
What I see is the difference between hope and inspiration is they are different, but they have a symbiotic relationship.
Okay.
Hope is what keeps you hanging on.
Okay.
It keeps you from falling into the abyss.
Okay.
Okay? Going into the darkness.
Right.
Giving up.
Okay.
Okay? So it keeps you there. It could be your last line of defense. It could be your safety net that just keeps you hanging on, just that one more moment. Inspiration is the power and the willpower to pull yourself from that last line of defense where hope's keeping you on. Inspiration is to take you to the next level and keep you moving forward, away from the abyss, away from the thing you don't want. Inspiration is the strength, the inner strength that you have to move past the thing that you don't want. to me.
Oh, I love it. I love this conversation. I love having you here. Dang, this has been fun. So I'm gonna move on to a poker tip again.
Yes.
But this actually coincides with what we're talking about to some level. So I watched the poker tip from a professional poker player. I am not a professional poker player, but I feel like I'm pretty good.
You are good. I second that from a amateur position and opinion.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I hold myself in higher regard, but I want to appear
He's
humble.
a pretty good player too, actually.
Thank you.
This tip was simply don't limp. So either you go in and you raise, or there's no reason for you to be in the hand.
What if you have? Okay, I'm not being crude, guys, for our non-poker players, but the term "having the nuts" does not refer to the male anatomy.
No, it doesn't.
It refers to having, like, let's say, it's more correlated to, like, you're a squirrel and you've got all the nuts. You have all the nuts. You have all the resources. You're gonna make it through the winter. You're gonna survive. You're gonna win.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it more to. So, question to you, challenge that. Isn't there a good strategy with appearing like what you're repping is appearing like you're limping in, you're not confident.
Of course.
When you have the nuts.
Of course.
Okay.
The point is, don't limp to limp, right? So you could limp just to show people you have weakness, but if you're limping because you're limping, then it's showing people you have weakness.
So if you're showing weakness and you have weak cards,
then you're showing weakness. That's period. Yeah. That's all it means.
And you're going to get exploited.
You're going to get exploited. People are going to view you as a weak player. So they're
not going to respect you.
Exactly. That's why they suggest not to limp. But that's kind of what we were saying with the weight loss stuff, right? If you make a decision, make the decision. Go all in. Do your thing. Like, make the decision and do the thing. So there's that poker tip for you.
I love that. I love that analogy.
So now we're gonna get to this place where this will be the last thing we do, and this is the process I promised you that's gonna help. This is something that I do. It's kind of a two-part thing. There are some people who believe you can't change emotions, and I'm gonna challenge you if you believe you cannot change your emotions. In my app, there are different processes you can go through. There are conditional versus unconditional processes. A conditional process would be something like you're looking at a sunset or a sunrise and it gives you good warm fuzzies. That's conditional because it's about the conditions that surround you.
It's external affecting your mood.
External. Petting a dog for 10 or 15 minutes, that's something that will give you warm fuzzies, right? So those are external things. Now, starting off with those external things, those conditional processes, actually helps a lot. That's a good thing to do. But what you really want to do is you want to master the unconditional. Because once you start figuring out the unconditional, then you can be at any place, anytime, and you can start changing your mood. So I'm going to challenge you who think you can't change your mood. I want you to think of the word happy right now. Just think of happy. Now I want you to think about things that you've done in your life that have been happy things. So have those in your brain. Now, get rid of those out of your brain, and I just want you to repeat the word happy in your mind. And I want you to feel, can you feel the emotion of the word happy? Can you feel the emotion of happy? Can you create that without external stimuli inside of yourself? And invariably, absolutely every time, you can create the emotion by just saying the word in your brain. Now, sometimes it's harder than others to do it because sometimes you have different stronger emotions during the day for different things.
Like the physical feeling of anxiety, that can sometimes feel debilitating for those with panic attacks, where they feel like it's outside their control. So there's additional that's a beautiful technique, and I did it with you, and I felt it. I did feel those feelings of happiness, and I was associating. I think the key was I was associating with memories of happiness with word association. So it created a value to me. Like the word is just a word, but you suggested to me to connect it to actually a memory of happiness. So there's association.
And you can talk about Happy Gilmore all you want. You can get your happy place, right? But that's a real thing, and it's something that you can use to change what's going on here. And here, this is another poker tip: never play on tilt. So if you are emotionally in the wrong place, just fold. Just fold, because you're just gonna lose a bunch of chips anyway.
You think Phil Hellmuth would learn that?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm nobody, but like one day if he ever sees this, because I always put in those little stabs against Phil Hellmuth. He might punch me one day. I don't know if that ever happens. But
so that's the unconditionality, finding your happy place, finding if you can just. I literally will do this in the car, and I would challenge myself. Am I at a place emotionally right now where I can do this, where I can say the word happy or excited or whatever those emotions are that I want? Can I do that right now while I'm driving? And how deep into that emotion can I get? And there's a second process that's really fun, and we're not going to go through it right now, but it's called the what if game. And I play this with Emily a lot, and we just go back and forth when we're on road trips, and we say, well, you know, what if your next client pays you $15,000 up front? That would be amazing. And we just feel the emotion of that for a minute. Go, yeah, that would be awesome. Okay. Well, what if we bought that house, that vacation house that we really want? How would that feel? And we would just sit there. We think, yeah, oh, that would feel so good. So again, it's the unconditionality. How do we think about something and create an emotion? So, that's it. Do you have any final words about that?
I love that. It's awesome, and I felt it. And the other thing is us people figuring out like what works with them, what hacks, and not hacks like in a derogatory way, but what techniques, what methods work for them, and it takes exploring, it takes being open, it takes consistency, and I'll even add that there's to everything you said is powerful, and there's other things when it comes to grounding and breathing. Something that I'm not going to be specific because it's their story to tell, but I have loved ones, people that mean a lot to me, that have that, and sometimes it's a lifelong thing, but panic attacks. A very physical hijacking. Okay. And I've even been there and seen it, and I've been there for
a lot of momentum in that. That's not a lot of momentum in it.
And so there is physical things that we can also do with that. So something that I would suggest also for people to do is it's called box breathing. Okay, and so it's really, really simple technique. It's where you breathe in deep, in with your nose for 5 seconds. So you breathe in, count 5 seconds, and then hold for 5 seconds. And then out through your mouth, release for 5 seconds. Hold for 5 seconds, and repeat. Do it 3, 4, 5 times, and you will lower your level of anxiety, that tension you feel in your shoulders, and you will improve and settle your physical state by doing that.
Oh, I love that.
And it's biological. And so with your exercise with happy, thinking, happy thoughts, and you add that box breathing method to it, it could be a very, very powerful duo that could help people.
And everybody's different.
Ways.
Everybody has different experiences
100%.
with these things. And so that's conditional. So when you're on the lower spectrum of the emotions, conditional is what you want. That kind of stuff, the breathing, is super perfect. And then if you can get yourself to a better space, then you can start to think about the unconditional stuff. But you've got to get to a better space to get there. So I think we're out of time, unfortunately. I love talking with you. This is so much fun.
Appreciate it.
And we're about to start our poker game, so I've got to start letting people in the door here.
Wow, we really passed the time.
So yeah, we really did. So thank you guys for joining us. Oh gosh, this is so much fun.
This was fun.
All right, let me make sure I can get to the right thing here. But Again, you guys, this is Ace in the Hole Live.
With a little bit of poker.
With a little bit of poker. And I think we're going to finish out with that. So
don't flash your cards.
Stay tuned next week. We're going to do this again next Tuesday. Don't flash your cards. We're going to do this again Tuesday. It's Ace in the Hole. This is Law of Attraction mixed with poker. So it's health, wealth, and relationships. And we'll see you next Tuesday, same time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace out.